Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hi, hello, it's me, it's Jeff Gerstmann. Welcome to the Jeff Gerstmann Hall of Fame. I'm out here in the garage for this one. Where am I looking? What am I looking at? Okay, hang on, where's the camera on this thing? Hey, how's everybody doing? It's time to try to, look, this time around we're talking about NFL Blitz 99, which is an amazing arcade football game that Midway put out in, I guess, 98, technically. You know how sports games be doing. It's the second game in the NFL Blitz franchise, and it's a game that's been, very near and dear to me that entire, that entire time. Wanted to try to do something a little different this time, but I don't know that it's going to quite work out that way because, well, look, I'll turn the... If you see that in the back behind the triangular Day of the Tentacle box and that Amazon Echo device that I'm no longer using, there's an NFL Blitz 99 cabinet back there. Let's try and get a slightly closer look at it. Oh, no, that's not gonna... This isn't gonna work at all. I was like, oh yeah, surely they'll be. Okay, all right, okay, this is fine. We'll make our way around to the other side. I bet that'll be different. Hello. Oh, that's no good at all. I actually just got back from buying some storage bins, some smaller ones, to store stuff like some of these tapes. I don't have a way to play these tapes. What's this say? At the controls, brand X TV, and then some garbage. And so I can't quite get to the arcade cabinet. Even if I could, we're filming off a screen. That's no fun. You can sort of see it back there. It doesn't have the control panel on it because when I moved the cabinet into this garage, we didn't do that. Let's see. The control panel is over here. Right there. And yeah, I want to get this machine back together. I need to get this garage in order. Got a bit of a deadline here, and a little later in the year I want to move everything out of the office and into this space and start recording out here, but that would require taking all of this stuff and putting it somewhere else. Like erecting a storage shed or something like that. I'm not sure. One thing I can show you here, if I'm careful, this is, oh man. This just happened like recently. This is the trophy I won. This is one of the trophies I won playing Blitz 2000, which came out on the Dreamcast. And I won that tournament. It was the second Blitz tournament I had won. This fell and cracked. Like it's been sitting here for a long time in pretty good shape. And then I was replacing the registration sticker on my car, and I was doing it around on top of this TV. And when I was out in the driveway putting the sticker on, I heard a big crash and came back in. And there was glass everywhere down here. Everywhere. Real bummer. But I am actually super sad looking at this. It's a huge bummer. But I won the Blitz Bowl for Blitz 2000, which was the Dreamcast game. But I don't feel like the later games in the franchise. Let me turn this back around. I don't really feel like the later games in the franchise really captured the magic as well as the first two did. Blitz 99 is kind of the high watermark because it's the first game that's a 4-player game, but really, Blitz is a 2-player game. When you're playing with 4 people, it's a mess. It's chaos. It's too much. It's fun, but it's for kids. NFL Blitz is serious business, is what I'm saying. So this game emulates pretty well in MAME these days, which is kind of awesome. But the controller is kind of the downfall, because nothing's quite like those arcade sticks. Let's go inside. We'll talk about it some more. All right. Unless there's something else you want to see out here. I don't know. I'm looking for my GunCon 3, which I think might be down there somewhere behind some stuff, because supposedly it'll hook up to a Mister. And I want to find my CDI. There's 3 PlayStation 2s. There's all the 5200 stuff. I went through a lot of this stuff over here pretty recently and didn't find it. So that's why I think it's got to be in this realm. But anyway, let's go inside and talk more about NFL Blitz 99. Okay, here we are booting up the arcade version of NFL Blitz 99 into MAME. Gosh. This game, there's so much crazy depth to this game that you wouldn't necessarily think is there. You know, it's like, hey, it's a football game from the makers of NFL Blitz, of NBA Jam. And, you know, it is a very arcade style football game, and it is extremely fast paced and all of that. And so you might think, oh, it's just kind of, you know, NBA Jam is really, you know, simple in a lot of ways. And surely this is like that. And like, yes and no. And I didn't really, you know, so Midway sent us cabinets, arcade cabinets for a little while. And the first one they sent was the first NFL Blitz. And then they sent out an upgrade kit to turn it into a 99. And they sent us a Gauntlet Legends machine. And maybe that's about it, honestly. And so with this Blitz machine in the office on Clement Street in, 97, I guess it would have been. You know, we played a few games of it every day. There was a while there that we were playing it like all day, and finally had to kind of, you know, management, who one of them was one of the people playing it the most, kind of had to lay down the law and be like, all right, we can't play Blitz until after 5 or, you know, or after 4:30, or, you know, the time I think slid around a little bit. And as you start to kind of sink your teeth into it and think about the different ways you could be playing the game, or the different ways the plays can run, there's a ton of crazy options in this game. There are a lot of different things you can accomplish that aren't necessarily written on the way the play looks on the screen. I was surprised as anyone, really. I was very surprised that I got into NFL Blitz, because I don't really like football. I'd say I have something of an active dislike of football at this point. And what did I do here? Nope, that's not it. I'm pretty sure I have a record here. We're gonna reset the cabinet. And, you know, I had played Joe Montana football on the Genesis, and I had played Cyberball, which was an arcade game that Atari did. There was a Genesis version of it, but really the arcade Cyberball, and they did like a tournament edition follow-up to that. I played a ton of that. And so, like, the concepts of football are not like, we're not like super foreign. No, that's not there either. I must not have saved stats. I just need to make sure the controls are mapped appropriately too, because they're not. Hang on. We're gonna pause it. This is very important. You know, you want to have this stuff set up properly. 49-way joystick. This is key. Let's see. Unknown on, sure, why not? Input settings for this system. We want turbo to be on the trigger there, but also on the bumper because you never know what we're going to hit. A and X, we'll see if those are the right order or if we need to swap them. But we're going to reset it to make sure that it's reading 49-way sticks. This is a key thing, and this is one of the things that makes this game hard to play anywhere other than in arcades. It did not use a regular 8-way joystick, or the same thing that your D-pad on your controller used. By default, it used a 49-way joystick, which gives you an analog-esque number of directions to choose from, without actually being a full-on analog controller. And now that we're swapped over to the 49-way sticks, I'm using the analog stick to play the game, because it's approximating the 49-way stick, and that's what the Dreamcast had to do. The N64, all of these home versions of the game had to try to. What is that? That's okay. Let's see if our buttons are set up right. And so the thing you want to be able to do here, and this is something that'll fake out the AI, or when a human dives at you. Okay, we want to actually probably swap. Well, let's see here. No, we want to swap those. There. That's better. You want to be able to wiggle and waggle a little bit when you're running, because when you hit the dive on defense, if you hit the dive button, it dives in the direction of the opposing player. But if the opposing player is kind of waggling around a little bit, those auto-targeted dives will miss a lot of the time. And so it's a situation where you can't really do that with only an 8-way stick. Oh man, this is going bad. It takes me a while to get my blitz legs back, because I just not really playing it all that much these days. We just want to run in this spot, and then oh man, you can block those if you are lined up, but I was not lined up right. It's very easy to block that stuff. And so, let's see. Let's do back split. You can't really do it the way that you used to. Yeah, you can kind of do it, but that guy got caught. So, you can do these silly, multiple passes. And so when I do this, the quarterback's going to go out as a receiver on these plays here at the bottom. And so that's a tricky thing you can do, is dish it off to the running back or whatever. Right? It's the running back, right? And so there's a lot of really wild nuance to a lot of the plays in this game. And it's stuff you have to then account for on defense. And so playing defense in this game becomes really knowing how the offense works. Because you need to know, okay, you kind of, and this is how I did it. When you're playing the arcade version, there's a thing you can do. If we tap up twice here, you see my play indicator goes away. The play selection, and so that's like a hidden select, the same way you would have in a fighting game, like a hide when I'm picking. But you get to a point where you see what page of plays they're on, and you are able to see out of the corner of your eye they're moving down, right, and sometimes they're getting tricky, going down, left, down, and you are keeping track of where that cursor is, and you know what play they're calling before they call it, or as they're calling it. Which maybe that's filthy, I don't know, but this game is filthy. And if you're not doing that, because obviously, sometimes they're playing the game online now. I think there's a version of this that works on Fightcade. You can look at these formations and go, okay, I know it's one of 3 plays. Oh, man. Okay. You end up in some situations like that where it gets knocked out of someone's hands. It's an interception. Wait, no, it's not. Oh, your other receiver caught it. And so there's just all types of weird chaos like that to contend with, especially when we're playing the AI here, because, forget what you read about, tournament mode and the AI not being, playing a fair game or whatever. It's not. It never is doing that. It's a Mark Turmel was involved in this game, so it cheats. It wants you to put the maximum amount of money. It wants to play to a tie. Oh no, that's not gonna go. Let's call that same play again, and we'll just scoot in. Nope. AI being AI. Okay, we'll just do this then. That's fine. And so part of playing this game every day with the same handful of people, myself, Vince Brody, and Ryan McDonald, was that we learned each other's stuff pretty quickly, right? You play against the same people, you figure out what they're doing. And so there was constant pressure on all of our parts to innovate and to change it up and to learn new tech and to, figure out, okay, this tricky thing I'm going to do. And so like when we, for the first several months that we started playing the game, no one was doing that little jitter step kind of, waggle the stick around while you're running sort of thing. And then you realize like, oh wait, that totally throws off the direction of dives coming in. And so that became like absolutely key. Maybe you weren't jumping every time you passed for whatever reason, but you should be. You should be jumping almost every time you pass. Maybe you weren't diving on one of the receivers at the line of scrimmage as soon as a play starts to like really, because you're breaking up. When you do that, that receiver then stands up and still tries to go out for a pass. But like, you might not know where they are, where they're going if you're the player on offense. And so you might accidentally pass to them when they're behind the line of scrimmage. Like you're trying to break up plays before they start and really just cause additional chaos that the other player has to then contend with. Okay, so we'll go bop, bop. Oh, I hit the wrong. I pointed in the wrong direction for that one, and now I'm spooked. I don't want to. Okay. Oh, gotta get that. Oh, that's not good. I don't know if you know that. That's not. I don't know if you know a lot about football, but so it's the catch on this is that playing against the AI is not really fun, and owning your own Blitz cabinet is a really solid reminder of that, Okay, so this is an easy pass to this guy on the right, because when they call that defense, there's no one's going to be covering that guy. That's why you don't call that defense. On defense, there's one play. It's called safe cover. It's the only play you should ever call. It's the only play you should ever call, because again, once you learn the idiosyncrasies of safe cover, what it can and can't do, see, I'll do that again. That same thing, and they'll catch me a little sooner, but like, if they call medium zone and I call monkey, then every single time it's going to go down like that. All right, we caught 3 passes in a row with the same receiver, and now we're on fire. Gosh, what else? It's just, oh my gosh, that's such crap. That's such nonsense that the AI would be doing that. I guess we want to do... Oh, it's a fake! But they still didn't make it. 30 yards to a first down in this game. Because them's the rules. What would be a fun play to call when we're on fire? Let's call it a da-bomb. So you see him out there kind of... Oh, man, I waited too long. I was talking. I was getting all fancy. Come on. One of the other fun things is the team Detroit. Mark Turmel is, I guess... This was... there was some garbage in NBA Jam as well, where the Pistons had a weird advantage against the Bulls. As I've always heard it told, when you pick Detroit, there's just a little bit more chaos in the game. Some additional fumbles, some additional crazy stuff. Oh, he's gonna... yeah, I made bad calls on the dives there. We're gonna win anyway, but like... Bad decision. That's right. That's right. And so one-on-one, there's a pace that this game takes on, because in that post play, and that's why when they brought Blitz back out in the weird tiny cabinets that they're selling now, and they took out some of the late hits, I was like, who cares? Because at the end of a play, if you hit all three buttons, it skips all that and goes right back to the play select screen. And you almost want to, like, you're forcing that, you know, okay, we're starting the next countdown for the next play. I don't want to give you time to think. I am brute forcing my way through this game as quickly as possible, controlling the pace of the game, and hopefully leading to people making bad decisions and so on. And so, like, you're not hanging out and making late hits. You're like, boom, 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 go, pick the next play, let's go. Like, you're right back in it. And that, to me, is NFL Blitz. You know, you don't care. It's like fatalities in Mortal Kombat. They're very cool. But if you're really just sitting down and playing it for hours and hours and hours, at some point you're like, that's just taking up time that we could be spending playing more Mortal Kombat. So, so eventually, you know, you kind of stop doing them. And gosh, you know, this game to me is the sweet spot for this franchise. They would do like one more arcade revision, one or two, depending on how you want to count it. But Blitz 2000, you know, did come out in arcades.
This one is underway.
You know, the stuff like if you spin more, you're more likely to fumble, and so there becomes like this risk versus reward on every aspect of the game, where, like, you know, yeah, I can stiff arm that guy, but is if I run over into him full on, is that gonna, you know, if I spin more than like and so that's why a lot of these plays you'll see me like run. Oh, whoops. Oh man. You'll see me head to the sidelines. It's because I know I've already spun once, and if I spin again, I feel like I'm just like increasing the odds that I'm going to fumble. And so you want to be near the sidelines and hope that if you do fumble, you fumble out of bounds. You know, that you don't lose the ball. I guess, I mean, they're really going to punt this time for sure, but...
Ball
Oh. Okay, yeah, they knocked me out, I guess. All right, let's try this one then. Oh man, that's the worst. You hate to see it, as they say. And so I got pretty good at this game. You know, we were not the only publication to get one of those arcade machines. But we may have been the one that played it the most. I don't know, because when the first NFL Blitz came out, that E3, they had a tournament, and I didn't think much, you know, like, I don't know, like, I'm not, like, am I competitive? Like, yeah, I guess, but, like, I'm really good at choking under pressure in those types of situations. And so I just never really thought much of it. I never thought, like, oh, well, yeah, of course I'm gonna, you know, because I assumed everyone, you know, like, oh, we're gonna get out there in the world, and, you know, we've only been playing against each other, and I'm sure that there's way crazier stuff that we've never thought of, and blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, we got in there and I won, and I beat, I mean, you know, I don't know how many people, like 40 people in that tournament. I forget what the exact number was, but, like, I didn't have to beat all of them, but I did beat a goodly number of them. There's pictures of me playing against whoever finished second, and I don't know who that guy was, but the guy that I had to play in the game before that was Craig Kuyava, who was at EGM at the time. He would later go to Midway and work on some of the Blitz games that they did for console, and then now he's at Iron Galaxy. And Craig was pretty good. Craig was the, outside of Ryan McDonald, who was also in the tournament. Vince didn't enter because he had business to conduct at E3, and he just said, like, look, go win this tournament. Like, he was ultra competitive, and so he was like, if you're gonna enter this thing, win it, you know. And I was like, okay, and I did. So all right, we need to get some yardage here. We're running out of time. That's not a smart, I'll take it. All right, can we get there like this? Oh no. We cannot get there like that. That was terrible. And I won that tournament, and I was shocked. I didn't really think I would win it. But I beat Ryan, you know, halfway through and knocked him out, and then, you know, Craig was kind of the next difficult challenge. The guy that I played against in the final game was like, I remember him just being like low-key furious about how the game was going, you know, like that I was, like, the way I played the game, and this is the way we all played the, like, is the most insufferable fucking knock them over at the line, do this, do that, like, learn the plays, exploit the plays. Like, it is the grimiest, it was pretty grimy tech, I guess I would say, if we had to, you know, use fighting game type of terms. It was really filthy stuff. It was stuff that people go like, that's bullshit, you do, yeah. You know, you really get people mad. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, yeah, throw it up the middle like that is going to happen. But, and so I won the tournament, and they took an awkward photo of me standing next to, like, I don't know if they were, like, what, Chicago Bears cheerleaders. I don't know who they were. And then, you know, after I won the tournament, oh shit, are you kidding me? They had me, you know, Sal DeVita was there, and Sal, you know, is one of the other creators of the game, one of the other creators of NBA Jam. He also worked on what, WWE All-Stars. I think he was on that TNA game that Midway did. But yeah, WWE All Stars. He worked on that for THQ. That's the last thing I remember hearing about him working on. But I'm sure he's around doing whatever. And so then you're like, okay, now I'm playing against one of the people that like made the game. This is it. There's no chance for me here. And I beat him. And he similarly was like, ugh, and just like kind of made himself scarce after that was over. And it was crazy, you know, like we get good at games in this line of work, but we get good at them fast and then move on. That's the thing. It's rare that you get to put in enough time to, that's just bad. I'm not thinking. I'm talking instead of thinking. And so that guy will cut left and we can hit him here. Oh my gosh, that guy was right there. Oh.
Ball at the 25. Downfield. Hammers the receiver.
And so that's what you want to do right there, that I haven't been doing a lot of, is like as soon as that pass goes to a receiver, you are knocking that receiver down because you know what play they called. You know when that receiver is going to be open and when they're likely to throw the ball. And so as you learn how those plays can be run, the multiple ways those plays can be run, you start to piece that sort of stuff together. And
And the clock is ticking down. First down. Lamar. Mississippi.
all right.
First down. Time is running out.
Okay, we should just be able to just go boom, boom, boom.
The Lions win the game.
So around this time, Mark Turmel started an email list, which was like it was sort of like a message board over email. You would send emails to a specific address, a list serve, if you will. And if you were subscribed to the list serve, you would get messages that people sent to it. And so it was like you would get emails that were meant for everyone on the list, and you would, respond in kind. And Mark Turmel started one for I don't know shit. I don't know anything about football. So like you get to this end trivia thing, I'm just like, I don't even know. And oh, that camera's not there. I didn't turn that camera on. And so, there's a handful of people on this email list, and I had never played against Mark, but Mark was aware of what I had done and so on. And I did at this point, I started doing like a little bit of light shit talking. I was like, yeah, hey, I won some stuff. Like this is, and that is around the time that I discovered that all the people at Midway that play Blitz play it for money. And the only way they can take it seriously, so they say, is if they were playing it for money. And I was like, oh, okay, that's why Sal lost, I guess, because there was no money on the line. And I would joke back and forth, and I was like, oh yeah, I never really thought I would get a chance to play Mark at the game. And there was a Midway event after Midway had bought Atari. They had a Midway event in whatever the Atari office was in like Sunnyvale or wherever it was. And in there they had an arcade, set up in the employee lounge or something. And they had Blitz, and they had, San Francisco Rush, and, some of the other games they had made recently, War, Final Assault, all the hits were probably there. And Mark was there. So I was able to play against Mark, and he put some money up, and I thought for sure, this is it. This is where I choke. There's no way. I'm not going to. There's absolutely zero chance that I'm going to be able to pull this off. This is the exact sort of situation that I choke in when there's money on the like that sort of competitive pressure is where I fold. And I beat him, and I took money off Mark Turmel, and it felt real good. Midway would have another tournament when the Dreamcast came out, and Blitz was one of the launch games, and they had journalists get together and play it, and you know, it was not a problem to win that, and that's the unfortunately destroyed little crystal trophy thing in the garage is what I won, winning the Dreamcast version of that tournament, and that's pretty much it as far as like competitive. Like, you know, Midway wasn't Midway for much longer after that. They were kind of struggling, trying to figure out like, how do we make these games work well at home? I think even the Blitz games themselves, you know, as much as they played well, I thought the N64 version was okay. I thought that the Dreamcast version was pretty good. And you know, but they didn't have enough. There wasn't, you know, as a full priced game, it was really hard to justify because they'd go like, oh, I don't know, we put in a season mode. Like, yeah, the arcade machine technically had a season mode. It's not, you know, like you're not adding a lot of like single player depth or longevity to the game, unlockables, whatever it is. And, you know, that was the hard problem it seemed like they faced in a lot of their games when it came to bringing arcade games home. I think it's why you see something like some of those Mortal Kombat games that came out on the PlayStation 2 and Xbox suddenly started having like a zillion different modes. You know, like, we got a Mario Kart knockoff in this one, we got a Puzzle Fighter knockoff in this one. Like, you know, there's a whole big story. I think it's how they set off in that direction of like trying to figure out how to make that work, and they did. But for a lot of the other Midway games, you know, a lot of them were very bare bones, and it was stuff that like on the Genesis you were a little bit more forgiving of. But even then, you know, when NBA Jam came home on the Genesis, I was like, you know, this is great, but like I never want to play this game alone. And there's not a lot to do if you are alone. It's not a fun game to play against the AI, and that's the case here, you know, and it's certainly the case of having the arcade machine. It's like the AI cheats. The AI is, especially in the arcade games, the AI is there to get you to spend money. The AI wants to play to a tie every single time. The AI is not there to even win. The AI is there to tie the game so that you have to put in more quarters to play overtime. It's filthy. Like, we talk about mobile games and loot boxes and all this other stuff, and you know, people kind of forget that arcade games were meant to drive, you know, like in a lot of cases they were out there trying to suck that money out of you one quarter at a time. Like, oh, like, why is RoboCop, the arcade game, such a pain in the ass? It's like, because you can always put in more money to continue, so spend $5 finishing RoboCop, you know. And yeah, so, you know, it's not the most fun game to play by yourself. And so that arcade machine out in the garage has not seen a ton of use. Because, well, you know, I lived 40 miles away from San Francisco, so it wasn't like people were going to come over to play the game who knew how to play it. And the problem with getting really good at something like that is it's no fun. No one wants to play that game against me. Period. Anyone that I knew, you know, like, we played it a handful of times because the novelty of having an arcade machine at home, and I would watch other people play, and that was fun sometimes, but like, they sucked. They didn't know what they were doing. And so it's this double-edged sword where this game is an incredible, amazing, competitive game. It is the most invested I have ever been in a competitive game in my entire life. You know, maybe Quake 2 or something comes close, but no, but it is also, I'd say that it is probably also the best I have ever been at a video game. The closest I've ever been able to be to say I am the best in the world at this particular game. And I think for a time I would have, I don't know that I would have said that, but you know, I would have been like, well, you know, I got multiple trophies here that prove that, like, that I've gotten this done. But obviously not everyone entered that tournament. Not everyone. There's been a couple of people over the years. The person I really want to play someday is Mike Builder, who is I guess he's the CEO of Jackbox Games. You know, the Jackbox Party Pack people. And Builder was at Midway for a long time, and everyone says he was the guy. at playing this game back then, that he was the unbeatable dude. He was the best among them, that Builder was that dude. And so I want to play Builder. I figure he'd probably beat me handily. Especially if we both went in with no practice. I just have a feeling he would crush me. I don't know why, but also he would want to play Blitz 2000. And so that's the Blitz 2000 adds like another page of plays, but they're all weird. Like this game is the last game where the plays feel plausible and the weirdness happens around the edges. A lot of the plays in Blitz 2000 are just funky routes and just weird. Like they feel like they were made with the built-in play creator and that some dude made them. And they're like, look at this nonsense. And like, I don't think they're cool plays. I think they're bad plays that in some ways detract from the game. And then on like a personal note, and this is an insane thing, but like this is how much of this game I played, I guess. In Blitz 2000, if you double tap the turbo button, it brings up an audible menu that lets you change your play on the fly. You can call an audible, as they say, and change the play. I obsessively double tap turbo at the start of every play because I want to be holding, and I'll show you why. This is dumb. This is dumb, but this is what I do. And this is a nonsense reason to not like a thing, but it's
Today's contest, the Arizona Cardinals take on the New York Jets.
I forget what all of them are. It's got big head mode, all that sort of stuff. So we'll get the ball and we'll tackle me. So when you're at the line of scrimmage before the play has started, when you hit turbo once, all the player names appear. And when you hit it a second time, they disappear. This is where I want to be. I want to be holding down turbo before the play starts, but something about having all the player names on screen irks me. And so over I have like a weird muscle memory of double tapping turbo before every play starts. And and not wanting the player because I didn't want the player names to be on screen because it's an unnecessary distraction. I'm trying to look at the players, trying to figure stuff out. And so when you do that in Blitz 2000, it brings up that audible menu, and I'm like, oh crap. And so every time I play that game, I bring up that menu over and over again by mistake and go, oh shit, I need to cancel this. How do I cancel this? Oh god. And it's this really disruptive thing. That's insane. It's an insane thing to be to be like a thing about Blitz 2000, but there you go. Like that's just how much of this game I played. Is like that's so ingrained in me that like I can't not do it, or it would take some work. And so I don't know. I have a Blitz 2000 board, a sports station board, I think it is, that has an NBA Showtime and Blitz 2000 kind of on one board, and I always think about hooking it up and trying to get good at 2000 because I figure if I ever did play Builder, that's probably what we would play, and so it would behoove me to spend some time with those plays. But I don't know. This game's incredible. I know, like it's one of those things that I think a lot of people, when they hear me say that or whatever, they're just like it's whatever. It's NBA Jam but football. But like there's so much depth on top of depth on top of depth when it comes to what like the skill ceiling of this game is insane. And when it comes to not just executing the plays, but executing the alternate plays that are in your, like, look at the spider legs here. And like, yeah, okay, there's 3 receivers, you do this, but like, you have to know, like, okay, if I run it this way and then do this, there's a part in his route where he automatically spins, and that's the time to try to hit him. Or like, if I run him this way, then I can run the quarterback out behind him because there's enough receivers in front of me to kind of block things and make things happen that way. And so you learn ways to run the plays that aren't written on that playbook. And so when we were big in the strategy guide business for a good long time, and we wrote, myself, Vince, and Ryan wrote a Blitz strategy guide, and we put together all of our stuff, all our crazy nonsense, all of our garbage, all of our bullshit was right there in there. And it resulted in like saying, you know, okay, so like here's another example real quick. And some of it's real simple stuff, right? It's we'll get through the kickoff here. But it's like, okay, like for any play in the game, we came up with like, here's like 4 different ways to run it, you know? And so you'd have like for back split, you'd be like, oh, okay, you know, yeah, you can roll out to the left and then hit center, and that's like a fine thing to do. But like, whatever. The thing you actually want to be doing with back split, and it's harder to do, but I just did it, is that the bop, 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 the left, right, center thing. And so with Monkey, you know that the middle guy in this stack of 3 on the right is always going to go straight to the right. And so that's how you know if the opposition is called any other weird... If they're dumb enough to call any defense other than safe cover... God, that's terrible. Then you got them. You know you got them. You know you're going to eat them up. And you know, so it really just becomes about knowing, being able to read the field, being able to read everything that's going on, and reacting better than the other guy. And so that means, you know, when you see the pass go, you know who the pass is going to, you know where that receiver is, even if he isn't on screen, and you have a pretty good idea where your guy is in relation to that receiver. And so you dive and try to knock him down, even if that guy's not on screen. And that's a very doable thing when you play a lot of the game. You can really figure out a lot of real... See, that's a great example right there, where they knocked that guy down behind the line of scrimmage. I wasn't trying to pass to that guy, but because he was there, and the passing system in the game works that you point in the direction of who you're trying to pass to, like a left, center, or right. And so as a result, when they disrupt the play like that, it messes up you in your head. You're like, I need to go over here and then I need to throw to the right. But you push right and hit throw, and it's not the guy you thought it was because the play got broken up. And so breaking things up at the line of scrimmage can be really like kind of a mind fuck, I guess. And I just, yeah, there's just, I guess like that all that is to say that there's just a lot going on in this game, and it might not seem that way, and you go like, oh, a football game from the NBA Jam creators, I guess that's interesting. But like I said, it's so much more, and there's so many crazy things going on, that for me it's an incredibly easy pick for the Jeff Gerstmann Hall of Fame, despite not really being the sort of person that cares about football. And so that was always the weird thing for me, and I think that's where the you know, because they would try to expand on this, and they would try to find what's next and what they were going to do. You know, how do they expand on this in ways that keep it going? How do they make it work as a home game? And a lot of the stuff they did, I think if we did this might turn off. This might be the only thing that turns off CPU assist in single player games, but I'm not positive. What? We had violence disabled this whole time? Yeah, there's so much to it. I liken it to a fighting game in a lot of ways, because it has the mind games. It has, you know, there's an execution involved. and you can mess up that. You can know exactly what you want to do, but like just you aimed a little wrong on that joystick, and then your dive didn't land where you thought it was going to, and then there's a chaos factor of like, oh man, there was a random fumble here, or this pass got popped up into the air, and now there's 8 players underneath where it's going to land, and all the bullshit that ensues there. It is a special video game from a really special time in my life also, and these were really the early days at GameSpot. This was, I started there in October of 96, and the first Blitz came out sometime in 97. And then, Blitz 99 came out in 98, and we played a lot of it in our original office on Clement Street. And then the cabinet moved with us when we moved into the Townsend Street building and whatever else. And just a lovely video game with so much depth and nuance. That again, I never would have, if we had not had such ready access to the game, and had like such a friendly, mostly friendly competition. Vince would yell, and Vince was the founder. He was one of the founders. He'd get away with it. Just like you would hear, we eventually had to move the cabinet into a different room that had a closing door, because there'd be some fumble, and then I would recover it and score or whatever, and he would just go bullshit at the top of his lungs, and it was so much fun to do that to him. And then, just like the type of fucking shit, so I won that tournament at E3, and then, Vince is like, oh, good. The best part about this is now I know I'm the best player in the world at this, because if you won that tournament, I know I'm better than you. So it's like fucking great. Yeah, just a really great thing. Really great game all around. And I'm broken. The way I love this game is very broken. I get that aspect of it, because like, there are people who are like, what are you talking about? The analog stick is fine. And like, yeah, sure, of course. If you think the Dreamcast version of this game is perfect, then by all means continue playing it. But the 49-way stick is so much more precise and gives you such a crisp control of the player that it just makes these analog sticks look like garbage. And so, yeah, Blitz and Sinistar, the best, and Food Fight, the best 49-way sticks in the game. Maybe Sinistar used something different, I forget. But yeah, I love this game. This is one of the games that was like, when the idea of doing this Hall of Fame was born, this was like the first or second game that popped into my head. And I just didn't want to start with it. I wanted to kind of dig a little deeper. But man, I love this game. I wish that, maybe I'll have to check out Fightcade and see if anyone's out there playing it online. But like, it's a game you want to play against people. And, that's a hard thing to come by these days, and coming by like people that are actually good at the game. There was the last time I played Blitz against a human being. Well, maybe not, I don't know. Dan Reichert thought he was pretty good at Blitz. And he's fine, but he was not. I did not have trouble beating Dan. We played we played at one of those arcades out by PAX, out near in Boston, or out near Boston. The Pinball Wizard Arcade, I think it was called. I think it might be shut down now, but we played there a couple of times. But there's an arcade in the Northgate Mall in Marin County, and it was kind of on our way home, and I would stop there occasionally, and I stopped in there. I stopped in the arcade, and there was someone kind of milling around the Blitz machine, and I think he wasn't playing it, and I put in money and started playing a game, and he was like, "Do you mind if I join in?" I was like, "Let's, by all means, man, let's fucking do this." And I fucking destroyed him, just annihilated. And I was rusty at that point. I hadn't been playing it. It was years later, right? This is a decade or more later. This is probably 15. Yeah, it was a very long time. This is mid 2000s by this point. I guess it's not a decade anyway. And after I beat him, he was like, "Man, why didn't you put your name in?" Because he assumed that I played the game there, and that maybe I was hiding my record, that I was one of these killers or one of the best players on the cabinet. And I was like, "Oh, I've never played on this cabinet before. I've never, this is, I have one of these at home." And I don't think he understood what I was getting at. Also, he tried to enter a bunch of cheat codes. Like at that select screen, he was entering unlimited turbo, unlimited whatever, and I just entered the tournament mode code that kills all that and prevents you from doing it. And so that man had no honor on top of everything else. So that was a lot of fun decimating that person. Yeah, I can't, it's a really, hopefully you understand why, as I've described it a little bit here, like what it is about this game that makes it so special. And I think it is the way it is competitive, the way that it operates is on the level of a fighting game, and it's a very different game in a lot of ways, but the concepts of, again, having good mind games to play against your opponent, but and having good tech and knowing, the different things you can accomplish, and thinking outside of the box on how the plays are written, but also the execution layer and being able to really get it done, on the sticks, as that is obviously hugely important as well. And so, there is it has that level of depth to it, I think. And I love it. It's one of the greatest games of all time. And, the thing, to get back to the last little bit there, the problem they kept running into with future games in the line was trying to figure out, how do you expand on it? How do you keep people coming back? And occasionally someone would ask me, "Hey, we're obviously we're making more of these. What do you think? What would you do?" And I was always useless because, like, I don't like football. So anything they did to the game to make it more like football, and they did season modes, and they did, things that just made it more like football. And I was like, I don't care. That's not I don't know what you could do, because Blitz 2000 added more plays, and I don't think that was a necessarily an improvement, right? Maybe it's adding the right plays, adding better plays, but yeah. So eventually they got to Blitz Pro, and they're like trying to make it. It became like a full team on the field, and I think they got rid of the 30-yard first downs in favor of the 10-yard, like real looking football players, real looking football rules. And it's like, who cares? Like, that stuff is so not why that game is great. And I get why you might think, oh, well, if we can, because also they're fighting against the idea that, like, a lot of people only want to play the licensed football game. A lot of people only want to play Madden. And so, they probably thought, like, oh, if we get a little bit closer in that direction, maybe we can appeal to that player. But, like, I don't think that ever worked for them. It was when they lost the NFL license and they went with Blitz the League that game truly became something else. And I don't necessarily love the way Blitz, the League, and the sequel. I don't love the way they play, especially compared to this. But they figured out all the other stuff going on around the edges. You know, the broken bones and drugs and upgrades. And, you know, almost became a little bit more like Cyberball in a weird way with upgrades. And those games were neat, but they were still too much football for what I was looking for. And so I didn't play a ton of them because I didn't find them super appealing from like a gameplay perspective. And then EA got the license and they, you know, broke the story that EA was working on a new NFL Blitz game. Maybe it met some people along the way that would have told me about that news. That game could have been great. That game had online play. That game had, you know, kind of some modern concepts for the online. It kind of had a lot of the plays, and it did a lot of the stuff you wanted a Blitz game to do. And then at some point, someone decided, what if you couldn't jump and pass while you're in the air? And they removed the jump pass from the game. And it just broke the entire thing in a way that made it garbage. Garbage is a strong word, but like, you know, but it made it bad. It was like, oh man, you have fucked up a fundamental thing about what made this game great. Like the idea of I'm going to jump and throw this ball high and go, you know, like the I'm going to wait for a tackle. I'm going to wait for a guy to dive at me, and then at the last possible second, I'm going to jump and then pass. Not being able to do that anymore fucks up all of the gameplay behind the line of scrimmage. So bad. So bad. And you're just like, how does this happen? It is such a fundamental feel thing for that game. If they had made that one change, I think that game would have been significantly better, weirdly enough. You know, like it would have just felt better. It would have played better. Like it really, yeah, just a really crazy moment. Just like, man, why would you do this? And so we're left with this game and the two games surrounding it. First Blitz 99, Blitz 2000, you know, that's an astounding trilogy of games. And of course, the Kurt Warner arena football game that is based on the Blitz engine is actually, you know, it's actually not bad for a PlayStation. For PlayStation, it's actually not too bad. But anyway, thanks everyone for watching. And thanks, you know, for you get early access to these episodes on the Patreon over at patreon.com/Jeff Gerstmann. It's been an interesting thought process thinking about what's the next game for the Hall of Fame? What's this? And what, you know, you know, there's a ton of games that you will look at and go, oh, obviously this game, but you know, and the thing I always say when it comes to this stuff is like, you know, a game like Super Mario World, does it belong? Like, of course it does. It's one of the greatest games ever made. Like, let's not be stupid, but like, you know, how many hours of internet content have been devoted to telling you why Super Mario World is good? Like, I want to make that video someday and properly induct it or whatever, but like, it's not, you know, it's not at the front of the list. I want to try to talk about some of the stuff that is older on slightly more obscure platforms in some cases, and, you know, games that, you know, are kind of being forgotten about more and more all the time. And getting to all of those, you know, we'll probably talk about Syndicate for the Xbox 360 before we talk about Super Mario World. How about that? If it makes the cut, I don't know. We'll see. I have to play some more of it. But yeah, I love this game so much. It's so great. And I think if you really, you know, if you had another person and you sat down and really tried to get focused on it and really just played a ton of it. Look at that bullshit throwing the ball back and forth this demo is doing. You know, that's ridiculous. I wonder, you know, if you and another person just sat down and said, no, we're going to start playing NFL Blitz against each other. Like, you know, how good would you get? You know, would it inspire you to learn all of the insane nuance that is found in this game? I don't know. I wonder. I'm just, the same way we talked about Load Runner last time, and like, does Load Runner still hold up? I think this holds up, but again, the investment it would take for you time-wise to truly, I think, well, whatever. This game is like pick up and play, super fun. The stuff I'm talking about, yeah, after, playing it for 1,000 hours or however many, I don't even know, like thousands of hours, maybe. This game is incredibly fun from your first quarter. It's a great, it just plays great. And then as you start to figure out some of the crazy stuff that you can do, it just gets better and better and better and better. I think that's the thing about it is it really is one of those, it's an arcade game. It's easy to pick up. It's difficult to master. But as far as like, games I maybe mastered over the years, this is almost certainly as close as I've come. Like I said, this is probably the best I've ever been at a game, was when I was really on my game with this. And I would feel confident saying that at that time, I was certainly one of the best in the world. Absolute best? I don't know. But I haven't seen any other people with trophies. I don't know how many other people won arcade cabinets playing this game, so I'll take it. I don't know. But yeah, anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for giving me an outlet to talk about why this game is so good. And we'll see you next time here from the Jeff Gerstmann Hall of Fame. See ya.